Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, 5 things we learn. How's it going? Are you all right? Let's have a chat about last night, shall we? And get your thoughts and all the rest of the stuff in the comments, and we can have a little bit of a chat if you want, and we can get on with our Thursdays. So let's start with number 1. Hard to judge. First half was the open basketball game that we've come to know and hate. Where United look dreadful, and we're sort of really relying on, basketball as a sport doesn't have the upsets football has. I'm going off on a tangent. I didn't plan on going here, but basketball as a sport doesn't see as many upsets as low scoring sports like football, but even like things like ice hockey and stuff, because the better teams, as you're getting there must be 100 opportunities of turnovers in basketball, if not more. They don't score every single time they get the ball, do they? So there must be so many transitions in basketball. Better teams will manage to just average out just that few more scores when they get it on average versus the lesser teams. But when you can win a game 1-0, if you can effectively deny and be a little bit fortunate when conceding shots and be a tiny bit more clinical when scoring, that's where upsets happen. The better teams, that you're not trying to outscore someone 15-14, over that sort of amount of goals, you're going to see a better team do better. But when the games are 1-0, 1-2-1, the opportunities to score become so much more valuable and so much more likely to cause an upset. So I don't know if in the first half we were thinking, do you know what? Yeah, let's have this game of basketball, and whether United felt like, oh, we've got the better players and we will get an opportunity, and despite this back and forward, we'll end up getting a goal. Or if Forest thought, our assets are playing on the counter and we've got forward players that we could get into some space. If we can get them into some space against United's mixed up defence, we might be able to fancy our chances. They had 12 shots in the first half, did Nottingham Forest. And, one of those could have changed the course of that game. 12 shots is a hell of a lot. You're expecting probably a goal and a half. We looked at the stats of how frequently Premier League teams score goals. Don't know if that video's out yet, actually, but we've done the research on it. You're looking at about 8 shots per goal. Now, in my head, I still think 4, 5, 6. If you're having that many shots, you're getting a goal. So 12 shots. You would have expected them to score a goal, maybe even 2 in the first half. Then in the second half, things changed. And I thought United became very, very, very boring. And because we became boring, we actually took a little bit of the sting out of the game. So it was a more mature second half performance. They only had 4 shots in the second half, which is mad, really, when they had 12 in the first. We always looked like we were the more likely to score, but I don't know if that was because we had better individuals or if we had a better structure. There was some individual moments that did great stuff in creating goals, like Delos's little run to get that near post cross was probably one of the highlights of the game, of someone creating something. And then, second point, the front three struggle again. Anthony wasn't great. I wouldn't have said he was shite, but he wasn't great. It was a very ordinary performance from him. He had an opportunity to score. He didn't. That does change things if he does that. Rashford struggled again up front, limited service. Snatched at his shots when he got the opportunity. Alan Shearer obviously spoke a lot about his body language, so people are going to talk heavy about the body language, but he's not wrong. His body language does look like someone who doesn't give a shit. Does that represent what his true feelings are? I'd be surprised if it does, but he gives off the impression of someone who doesn't give a shit. The best advice I could say to Marcus is look like you give a shit. I saw him pressing stuff. He looked like he tried to me, but the body language is real, and people are going to overanalyze that because it's what they do. Garnacho, I thought, looked poor. Like, just in decision making, it looked like he was everything was trying to be the hero rather than playing the game and playing for everyone else. Højlund is a mad miss for this team, a mad miss. As is Mainu. So the quality drop centrally when he didn't play was drastic. I thought positionally United did hold better positions, like they all must have watched Monday Night Football, and they looked like they started about 5 yards further back and was a little bit stronger on the transition. Still wasn't perfect. There were still times when we was overloaded, a lot of times when we was overloaded. But it did look like it was at least an attempt to be better on the transition, I thought. Casemiro and McTominay have proven that, I would argue, ball playing and recycling of possessions, not their strong point. Both of those, and then when you throw Bruno in the mix as well, all of them are trying to get forward. All of them are trying to impact. Casemiro got the goal, but you could easily see Bruno or McTominay also contributing to a goal. The problem is you've got 3 players not doing the same job, and actually 3 players doing 3 totally different jobs and totally different ways of doing that job. But none of them are doing what Mainu does or did. And it's mad how dependent United are on an 18-year-old with, what is he, like probably 15, 16 games deep in his career. It's a position of emphasis in the summer, particularly if Casemiro goes. And it's a position of dire need, one that you probably can't even afford to get wrong. And then 3, Amrabat. So the first 20 minutes or so, I thought Amrabat looked really rattled. I didn't think it was a good performance from him. But I think it was better. On reflection, I think it was better than what I thought it was previously. He was a little bit sloppy in possession, but he still come away with 97% pass accuracy. And I think he was probably a large reason, underappreciated reason for why we held the ball better in the second half. I think he grew into the game. Maybe it was just rustiness in that first 25, but he looked like a massive liability in the first half of the first half. When he was inverting, he was helping. He was taking up some good positions and bolstering that midfield, which has just been a chasm of late. He was one of the more trustworthy players with the ball in the second half. And I think the mishmash of a team that you're putting out at the moment, it just highlights the complete lack of depth and the inability to deal with injuries that United are dealing with at the moment. And I thought he did an all right job. Now, when you consider what his best attributes are and what he did well, I think he'll probably play there against City, but I actually think what you require him to do against City, you almost don't want him. Against City, I think you need Mainu. I think you need Amrabat. I think you need McTominay. And I think you need Casemiro. And he won't drop Bruno. So how are you going to fit all of them in the team? Can you fit all of them in the team? Can you do a midfield 3 of Mainu, McTominay, and Casemiro and put Bruno on the right? Would that be an option for us? You play Marcus down the middle. You play Garnacho on the left. You put Bruno on the right and you just have him crossing for the other 2. That might work. You'd certainly get the work rate from Bruno. I think it's obviously going to be a discussion for us to have closer to Sunday, tomorrow or Saturday, I think. And then finally, Liverpool next. If they get all their players back, I would expect them to steamroll us. Because we just don't have anything to cling hope to at the moment. If they're still playing some of these academy products, you may have a shot. But we're so far off seeing a performance. There's some results coming, but we're so far off a performance. I guess a lot of it will see how we do against City, because if we manage to pull it off against City, there'll probably be a bit of confidence in the squad that we can go and do something. We'll see. What you guys saying? 22 Freezy says Amrabat's game sharpness is 100%. Not 100%. He's only just come back from injury. Could be that. Alex says a front man might have to be Bruno as false 9. You could do that, but then, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Brian says we have zero quality in depth. Outside of strongest 11, our squad's full of championship players. Ed says, genuinely feel bad for you, Steve, for reviewing these below-par performances week in, week out. It does take the fun out of it, I'll be honest with you. CTB says, that's what I think of the Fulham game. We were no worse than we have been. Only difference is we didn't get a lucky result. I feel like we might have been worse, actually. Julio says, I hate us having no strikers apart from Rasmus. Shows that what Ten Hag has at his disposal, yet some heads want him out. They're handing him out, especially the media, going overtime. This is what the media do. It's only an issue. It's only an issue. And Martinez is a massive miss as well. Kenny says Anthony should play left back because he ain't a winger. There's a lot to play in left back, and I don't know. Yes, having a good work rate as a winger does not equate to being a fullback. Tino says, been a while since I caught a live. Love that Thursday Club is back. Keep up the great work. Oh, it just reminds me as well, I need to post it to YouTube memberships as well. It's just gone out on Patreon, but I'll post it to YouTube memberships as well. So if you want to support the channel, YouTube memberships or over on Patreon, link is in the description. Cell says Amrabat isn't being fairly judged. Majority of his chances have been out of position. That's true. That's true. And I think he does offer something, and I thought he'd been so much more effective than what we've seen this season. But maybe not having Martinez behind him maybe didn't have it there. 22 Freezy says Bale made the jump from left wing back to left wing, but he was a left back. The problem is he was a shit left back. Like, didn't he go 26 games without winning a match at left back until I think it was Harry Redknapp moved him to left wing? Why was there no heads gone last week? Because Ash couldn't do it. He's a busy guy. He's not that busy, obviously, but sometimes he's busy. Justin says, do I see Amrabat staying next season? Nah, I don't think so. Juan says, the worst thing about Anthony, other than not being able to score, is when he complains, moans at the ref about the ball going out of bounds or a missed chance. It fills me with cringe. Ross says, can't wait for the next Howson versus. I believe it's going to be another Talk Sport 1 chatting Wibble, no doubt. James says, Ten Hag's doing an impossible job trying to finish top 4 in a cut run with most of our best players out injured. It's facts, isn't it? It's facts. We are struggling at the moment in terms of that. Don't we have an obligation to buy an Amrabat? I thought we did, but it's probably more of an option than an obligation. Wetterbird says, how many onliners think it's okay to put players in a brand new position and then get mad when it doesn't happen? Oh, they're terrible when you do it. I think the one thing we can't fully appreciate, because of the angle that you get from TV, and even in the stadium, if you're high up, like my seat at Stretford End's really high up, you're high up in the stadium, it's hard to fully judge because you don't have to move your head to see like a whole sequence of play. It's hard to really get a judge of how quick that is. Like if you put them on a pitch with, even an academy team, people don't realise that United's academy team is really, really good, unbeaten. If they played United's first team, they might get 10-0'd, genuinely, or any Premier League team, because there's a whole difference of playing men's football, and that's why you have to slowly indoctrinate these teenagers into playing men's football. And some of them can get it, and some of them can't. But there is a difference, and the speed is something else. So when the picture is different, and the picture can only be different by 5 or 10 yards sometimes. Like I've spoken to players off record, off camera, and players that had been moved out of position. And I've said and actually this is a player that has been moved, ex-United player, that had been moved forward in his position and also been moved back in his position. So it's a central midfielder that had played in attack and played in defence as well. And I said to him, surely you'd prefer to be moved backwards and see more of the game. And he was like, nope. He goes, all of the distances are different. And following runs is just something that I'd never really practiced doing. And he just said, he can't really describe how comfortable I am playing central midfield versus, even going and playing up front. I don't know what I'm doing. And to learn it to the level, and this player did not play first team football. So the speed of what it must have been like playing a Premier League match must be unfathomable. Also, did you see Wayne Rooney last night saying that Scott McTominay was a striker? He wasn't. He played as a striker in the academy, but the reason he played in the academy as a striker was Jose wouldn't sanction the signing of a striker. United had no striker in the academy for that period of time. So Matty Willock and who else was playing up front? Might have not been Joe Rothwell. It might have been too early for him. Matty Willock and Scott McTominay were being played up front, but they were both central midfielders. You know, like, he wasn't a striker. He was a player that played striker. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, as always, unless there's some more questions. So you guys are saying. Phil says, might go on one of those IRL hikes on Sunday and dodge that bollocks. I'm not looking forward to Sunday at all. Fobo says, Casemiro got sent off for going full Homer versus Bart on Will Hughes, yet when the Forest player tried to strangle Bruno, nothing happened. Where's the consistency? That's probably going to be on Howson versus, because there was a fucking piss take, wasn't it? Absolute piss take. Daniel Farr says he played more of a striker last night than Rashford did. Might as well have. I'm not foolish enough to think you can squeeze him there. This is the other thing. Because he got on the end of a couple of crosses, people are going to say, oh, he can always get on the end of crosses. But that's one aspect of being a striker. There's more aspects of being a striker. And you'd be like, well, Rashford did nothing. He's still got a few chances. You've also got to remember, Rashford as the main striker is being dealt with by certain defenders, which means when you steam in there as a midfielder, you're unmarked. Doesn't mean you're better in a box than a natural striker. It just means that you're an extra body in there. And it's like, do you see sometimes you put goalkeepers up for a corner, they cause absolute havoc. They manage to get on the end of balls sometimes. Is it because they're, as goalkeepers, are better than strikers at being a striker? No, it's because they're the chaos factor that gets flung in that didn't have someone assigned to mark them. It's a totally different vibe. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm really going this time. But if you want to support the channel, then check out YouTube memberships, which I think you can just click directly below, or Patreon. It is exactly the same. I've just got a backlog of content that I need to post on YouTube memberships because I keep forgetting. And if you want to just go and watch some more stuff, or you want to ignore this and think about the great outdoors, then I have my Howson IRL channel link in the description, where we're out going doing all sorts of hiking. And there's a winter survival one about to come out as well. Was going to drop it tomorrow. Going to wait a couple of weeks, I think, before we do. But cheers for tuning in as always. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll catch you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.